All right, welcome everybody to Comic Book Club. This week's choice was Hitler battles Daredevil number one,
Yes.
and it was Alan's choice. So Alan's going to take her away. Oops, wrong one. Take her
Okay.
away, Alan. You know what? I'm gonna put you single mode because it works better for some reason. There we go.
Okay. So this is the book that we're discussing today. Daredevil battles Hitler. Inside is I think it's 7 stories. Yeah, 7 stories. Like it's
There is
crazy.
seven stories.
Yeah. So the main story, well, the first story, actually, I'm just going to quickly summarize all the stories and then get into each individual story. It sort of shows the different the the first one and the second one, or actually the first one and the third one, kind of summarize the battlefronts that were facing Hitler and the world, actually. So you got the Battle of Britain being mentioned in the first story, and then you got the Battle of Africa, which is what was happening later in the war. So those two are kind of like the first one. Battle of Britain has really gotten in. They go into fairly good detail about the Battle of Britain. The Battle of Africa is like more of a cheesy story, um, but but and then there's other elements. They look at the Air Force. They look at the naval force of the Germans, and mainly those two actually. I'm just trying to think of all the stories. Yeah, so mainly the naval force, the air force, and yeah, in terms of the battles that they look at. So the first one, the first story of the seven, is the Battle of Britain, and basically it starts out with Daredevil, who is this character right here, right there, with the two-toned costume.
He looks like
um,
those guys from Star Trek. You know the ones I'm talking about?
Yes, 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 exactly. If it was on the other side, they would hate each other.
Hmm.
Like, yeah. So, and he has like a spiky belt. Um, so Daredevil basically infiltrates the German High Command, where they're planning out the Battle of Britain, and he does like the typical thing where you punch out the guards, get their costumes, and he infiltrates. Um, but then he is discovered as he is listening in on this conversation. He has to bail out, and he basically, he fights a bunch. He lights a fire to as a diversion, gets onto a plane, and flies away. But it's a German plane, so when he flies back to England, at first they think he's a German, so they shoot him down. But he bails out of his plane and into like a parachute, and he tells them, "Hey, take me to the high command. I have important information." So the commandant, I should say, in England. So he relays the information that he learned from when he was spying on the Germans, that they're planning to invade Britain, which is, if you think about when this is happening, this is during the Battle of Britain. So it's kind of a crazy story that way. Um, and this is before the US has gotten into the war that this book has come out. So I think it's like almost a year, not a year, half a year before the US gets into the war. So this is kind of early on. Um, Now, he tells them that the Germans are, going to do this. At the same time, there is a traitor. One of the lords in the parliament is a traitor and is sending birds, like carrier pigeons, to Germany with messages about the basically defense plans for England. Okay, so so Silver Streak and his bird Wiz basically stop that lord from sending messages, but it's already too late. The messages have already been sent. So Hitler knows the defense of England, which is kind of like England's screwed. So it could be really bad. And Hitler has his own plans. He basically uses, is it Goering, that the one that does, or Goebbels?
Goering is the air marshal.
Yeah, Goering is the air marshal.
Goebbels is
Goebbels
propaganda.
is, yeah, Goebbels. Goebbels is the one that basically, and they have like he has like the propaganda picture in the back of him where it's like if you're gonna tell a lie, tell a big lie, kind of thing. The bigger the lie, the more people are likely to believe it, kind of idea. Um, and Goebbels basically sets up a press thing where he basically, hints at the fact that there's going to be an invasion of the Suez. That way, it looks like, oh, the Germans they're not gonna attack Britain. No. They're gonna attack, the Suez. But so the British kind of pretend that they fall for that bait, and they send a few ships down. But they know that the Germans are coming to attack Britain. And because of Daredevil's information, they actually changed the way the bombs are laid out so that the defense plans were completely altered and basically useless for the Germans. And as a result, they beat the Italians in on the way to Suez, and then they beat the Germans as they're trying to attack Britain. So they get totally routed in terms of this invasion. Yeah, and that sort of wraps up the first story. The first story is the Battle of Britain. The British survive another time, but they actually show some pretty intense stuff. Like they show some of the Nazi planes coming over and actually dropping incendiary bombs on England, and it's pretty brutal. So it's a pretty intense story that way. The second story is with the Claw, and the Claw betrays Hitler. Okay, and basically the Claw is this giant-like creature. It's massive hands, and Hitler wants to team up with the Claw to battle the British, and to prove how powerful the Claw is, the Claw basically destroys a dam in China and kills a whole bunch of Chinese people to just show how powerful he is. He just grabs the dam, and the goal is that Hitler wants to take over Singapore. So this shows like the multi fronts that they're facing. The Germans are attacking on multiple fronts, and basically Daredevil tricks the Claw. He does this thing. He has this thing that they use multiple times in the book where he flies a plane. He jumps out of the plane onto another plane, like the German plane, and then punches the the guy that's flying the other plane, and then throws and takes over the plane. He does that a few times in this book. It's pretty crazy, but he does that, and then he basically flies down as a German. Looks like he's German, and then he basically meets the Claw. He tells his people that I'm here to meet the Claw and blah blah blah. He meets the Claw. He convinces the Claw that he must attack certain ships and certain troops. And the Claw is like, oh, okay, sure. If that's what Hitler wants me to do, I'll do that. But then he's actually attacking his own troops. He first attacks the subs, then he attacks the battleships, and basically defeats Hitler's army that's about to attack Singapore. And then Hitler's like all freaked out by this, and then Daredevil actually gets on board Hitler's ship. It's a bit confusing story, but he gets on board a Hitler's ship and actually fires at the Claw, which makes Claw a bit upset. Then the Claw basically gets mad at Hitler, and Hitler's like, "Don't kill me, I'll give you lots of money," and that ends that story. Hopefully my summary is okay. It's like a lot of information happens in each of these stories. If these were modern stories, this would be probably like each of these stories would probably be one full comic by itself. It is a lot of stuff happens in each story, if that makes sense. The third story is, I'm gonna summarize these a little bit less, like not so detailed. The third one is they're in Africa, and Daredevil is now teamed up with Lance Hale, who's kind of like a bow and arrow guy and like rides an elephant. And they basically, thwart Hitler in Africa. And actually, this is the one comic, the one story where he actually does get to beat up Hitler a bit. He he punches Hitler a bunch of times. They even shoot an arrow at Hitler's face and breaks Hitler's nose, and then also takes his mustache, which is kind of funny.
That was fun.
Yeah, so there's like, this is the one story where they fight a bit. There's even a scene where they capture Daredevil, and just sheer number of men, and then they're gonna like execute him, like do the firing squad, and then Lance Hale comes in with an elephant, and just like the men go flying. So there's a lot of cool things. It's just a very actiony story. The fourth story is Dickie Dean. He's like a kid inventor, and he's invented a decoder machine that basically can help the British. And he goes over to England by himself for some weird reason. I don't know why he sent a kid off by himself, but
Into a war zone.
Yeah, send him off. Go off. You'll be okay. So of course he gets captured.
You're lucky.
Yeah, he's like Bucky. He's like, go off and get killed, guy. Obviously Daredevil has to save him. He saves him, and it's kind of funny because it's one where, again, I think it's Goebbels again that he had to fight. Was it Goebbels? I'm pretty sure. And yeah, and then basically at the end of it, they fight it with him to save this kid, and then they tie Goebbels up in wire and rope, and then send him off to Hitler. Like, decode this, basically, was like the message that he sent when Hitler gets this surprise package of Goebbels being wrapped up. It's kind of a cute thing. The fifth story, wow, there's so many stories. The fifth story is with the Air Force, and that's Goering,
yes.
Goering, thank you. I'm terrible at my German names. Okay, so Goering, and basically it's an interesting one because it's with Cloud Curtis is the next character, and Daredevil, and Cloud Curtis ends up doing they have a bunch of they have a battle, but then it ends up that they're on the ground, and they basically say, hey, it's almost like a challenge. He challenges Goering to a dogfight. Basically, they go up and they have a dogfight, and it looks like Goering's actually a pretty awesome pilot, but Cloud Curtis is just that one level better, and Goering ends up crashing, humiliated in front of his troops, and he almost actually kills himself. He's like puts his gun to his head, but he doesn't kill himself. But it looks like he's going to kill himself. And so, they seem like the whole point of this book is that they're getting one up on all of the different people within the Nazi regime and within the military of the Nazis, and at all fronts they're beating the Nazis. Is the main focus of the story. The sixth story is the Pirate Prince, and the Pirate Prince is basically a guy with like a swashbuckler. A prince, like a pirate prince, and he's got like a boat, like right out of like the 1700s or 1700, like kind of the typical pirate ship from the 16th or 17th century. I don't know, like a long time ago. It looks like that, and he's basically taking out the Nazis' battleships, which is incredibly unrealistic, but it was a fun story where they're just sort of humiliating the Nazi boats, the Nazi Navy, and that's that story. Basically, there's not really much to it, but that's basically it. The last story, the seventh story, is probably one of the more important stories of the book, even though it's like there's been all these other stories, because it really gives a synopsis of Hitler's life, where you see Hitler right from childhood all the way up into how he got power, the concentration camps, everything. It's pretty detailed history of the evil of Hitler, and how he used intimidation and all the kind of stuff that we know about Hitler. Well, it's in this, and it's pretty detailed. And that's the book. That's Hitler battles Daredevil. Daredevil battles Hitler, I should say. And it's a pretty long read. It's 68 pages. This is why a lot of people like, modern books, they always say, oh, it takes about 5 minutes to read. A Golden Age book is like a good long read. You're getting your 10 cents worth.
And it really depends if you took the time to read the Hitler story that was done in printing.
Yeah, there was also there's actually a text story as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty, and actually the artwork is different in the last story. It's actually a pretty interesting artwork, the way that they did it. So overall, I really feel like it, that whole idea of the 10 cents being, getting your 10 cents out of it. This book really, I feel like you're really getting your money's worth. If you were a kid back then, you paid 10 cents for this, compared to anything that we have nowadays. Like, I really feel like there's just a lot of story in here. And some of the stories are better than others, but you get like a lot of stuff. Really get a lot of value for your money. So the cover for me, I love this cover. I think it's just, it reminds me of Monty Python with the with the Hitler, like, looking like a, like one of those paper doll things. It just, I think it's really cool. You got the claw as well. You got, this really great trade dress title. I just think it's a really cool cover. For me, the cover's a 5. So really love this cover. I think it's a really cool one. Probably one of my favorite Hitler covers. Just so cool. I like this larger than life villain, like where, Hitler's large and you got the, he's getting whacked by the boomerang from Daredevil. It's just a really cool book. And even this, where you'll see that they're shooting little planes at Hitler. Just so many little details like that are kind of cool. So for me, the cover's a 5. The interior art it's all over the place. It's not it's not like modern books where you'll have there are a few big splash pages, but for the most part it's very paneled art. But actually I thought it was pretty good. It was I would give it like a 3.5 because it conveyed the stories. There was a lot of narrative that it had to convey. You could actually, a few of them, even the Battle of Britain, which actually was a really bit of a slog in terms of the amount of reading you had to do. You could just visually look at it and you could get the story. You could understand what's happening just by visually going through the panels. And it was really cool that way. I always appreciate that for me. Like, especially when I was a kid, I wasn't a really great reader. So having something where you could just visually look at it, and if you take the time to actually read it, you get that little bit more. But it just, I appreciate that kind of level of art. Whereas some of the modern books, I feel like you get a little lost. They're overly, they try to be really like, aesthetic, but at the same time they lose you on the narrative. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but that's my feeling on it. So I gave the interior art a 3.5. The story, I'm going to actually give it a 5. And it's really based on the value that you get from the book, the fact that you get all the history of Hitler. You see really an interesting perspective of what was happening at this time in terms of the different fronts, the Battle of Britain, a battle in Africa, the naval, what they were up against. And one of the things that they did, especially if you look at the what was it? Oh, I forgot what the name of the story was, but the one where he's battling Goering in the air, they didn't actually make the Nazis look like goofs. It wasn't that Goering was like, oh, he's an idiot, he doesn't know how to even fly. No, they actually made him very competent, and that's something I appreciate in a way, because they really show that there are high stakes involved. That you know the Germans have their spies. They have all this this stuff that's happening. They're not idiots. They're trying to it's I like it when the bad guys are not fools, but they have the proper skills and they can be a definite threat. Even though this is based on reality, this whole thing, it has a little bit of that truth, that reality happening, but it also shows that they're up against competent people. And that makes the whole thing much more scary or threatening, that this is like a real war that they're going up against. And this is an enemy that they might not be able to beat. And that's always makes the stakes higher. I think that's important. So I give the story a 5. And the overall, actually, I'm going to give this a really high score. I'm going to give it a 4.75. It is kind of greater than the sum of its parts. It's one of the, it's interesting for me too, because I found that I was like, these were all characters that I wasn't super familiar with. Silver Streak is interesting. The fact that he has this talking bird, I thought that was kind of cool. The fact, there's a lot of things in it that I just thought were really cool. I just, like, these are different characters than the way that we see characters nowadays. They didn't have necessarily superpowers or anything like that, but they were super brave and they were willing to take out, these crazy Nazis. And I just thought it was interesting. So I'm going to give it a pretty high overall score of a 4.75. And that's it.
Go.
Okay, so I'm gonna change things up. I'm gonna pick TM to be second.
You're gonna hate me.
Oh,
Okay,
actually,
so
I'm going to request though that I go last, because I have a bunch of points that I don't want to step on other people if they have the same
Okay.
points.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So to start this off, modern comics do have a lot of dialogue in books, and it's a lot better than this is. I'm going to review this as an entirety book.
Mhm.
I'm just not a war kind of guy. That's just not my genre of reading. I've never really been interested in war movies, war books, and that. Like I studied that kind of stuff in high school, and that, like, I know the history and stuff, but I didn't enjoy this book. Like halfway through, I was getting bored. I was like, where am I going to end this soon? And realized, like, I'm only 20 pages in, and it really was like, But then when I started getting closer to the end, I was like, oh, okay, now it's getting good. Maybe it was the story at the end that really got me, or I was closer to the end. Another thing that really ticked me off was the word bubbles up at the top, the colored ones.
Okay. It was hard to read, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't bad when it was green or blue, but when it was purple or red, I had really hard time seeing that. I don't know why the words kind of just mesh, and like I would look at the colors and then the words would just kind of disappear. The color would just.
I had to zoom in on those ones.
Yeah, it really took me out of the book. So my pleasure of reading it was kind of down while reading it and that. So I just didn't really enjoy it. But I did like parts. I'm an animal guy, so I really liked the elephant part where he was riding an elephant. He was like, yeah, the elephant. And then the elephant left. And I was like, oh, elephant's gone. And I did like the ending. A whole
bunch of Nazis with the elephant, so that was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. But I did like the ending too. I did like the story of like Hitler and that, and like how it really kind of like highlighted how petty of a human being he is. He didn't get his own way, certain things. He got treated a certain way, and he took it out on everybody else. And he thought he was superior. He thought he didn't like Britain from the First World War. So he's just a petty man. And that's the guy that started World War II. And it's scary. It's scary to think about that. Like, hey, this guy that was like almost nobody had got upset, got his feelings hurt, and decided to start World War II over it. And it's scary. It's a scary thought. I do not like that, but it happened. It happened. So, all right, let's start with the cover. Cover's all right. I like the yellow. I'm not a big Hitler cover kind of guy, so I'm gonna give it a 3. Story, like I said, not a war guy. It took a lot to get through. There was aspects I did like about the book, but overall, like I couldn't really get into it, and I was very very happy when it ended. Because like there's other books like where I've read that are long, like any book by Tom King, he's very dialogue heavy and stuff.
Mhm.
When you're writing something that's long and you get right into it, you can end up reading like 5 issues of a book because you're super super into it. This wasn't the case with this book for me personally. So I would have okay, the art first, interior art. I would give it a 2.5. Wasn't the best inside, but there was panels that were great, um, and that. But like the coloring was off. There was a lot of panels that were off, and that. So it was kind of all over the place, like you said, Alan. So yeah, I would give the interior art a 2.5, and then the story a 2, and then so overall, I'll give the story, or I'll give the overall book 2.5.
All right.
Okay.
And so who am I going to pick next? It's tough choice, tough choice.
Well,
I think I'm going
Matt
to go
wants to go
Biggie.
last anyway, so it has
I'm
to
going to
be
go Picky.
Okay, I got your scores as 3, 2, 5, 2, 2, 5.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just give me a moment. I'm gonna pull up some inside panels. I want to show the chat what we're looking at. Let's see, where's it at? I'm sorry, guys.
While you do that, I have 2 questions for Alan.
Mhm.
One, is the writer and artist the same for the first 6 stories? Because the 7th story is obviously different. It's more historic.
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth.
I couldn't find the information in a cursory quick look, so I'm not sure if.
It's Charles Byro and Bob Davis story.
Okay,
Okay.
so it probably
So
is. I
I
knew Charles.
imagine it's Bob Davis that did the last one.
So here's some of the inside stuff we haven't got to show. I kind of like the monstrous kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's
I'm gonna
pretty
show.
cool.
I'm gonna show the panels I like the most. Let's see. This was a good one.
Yeah, the Man of Hate. Yeah,
Yes.
and that's all the last story, where there's a lot of.
Yeah.
And then
So
yeah, they would always have like a with each story they would always have a splash, not a splash page, but a splash title. I guess I'm not sure what it's called.
that's kind of what we get in it. The German ships were brighter. Um, Looking for one specific with the yellow claw. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it yet. It's the jungle one. Here we go. So they have the yellow claw, and he's bigger, big as a battleship in a couple of the panels.
Mm-hmm.
That one's pretty good. All right. And those are some of the good inside panels. I would say I like the inside art more than the cover myself. Cover for me, I'm gonna go 1.8.
Oof.
Yeah,
I guess you guys aren't much Hitler cover fans.
I'm not too much. 1.8.
So
I
actually, I had
mean,
recommended this book as being one of the top 100 covers of all time. So that's, that shows you why I gave such a high score.
I haven't gone yet.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he might love it. I'm not a big fan. I've seen a lot of Golden Age covers. I would not say that's a cover for me that I would think is fantastic cover or recommend. But hey, if you like it, you like it. For me, it's pretty plain. It's kind of out of the ordinary, and I don't know. I just ain't into it. Inside art. I'm gonna go 2-0. It had some good stuff in it, but I can't lie. I got super bored when Alan said that the 7 stories were like one modern issue. I disagree. I'd say it's more like two, and out of the 7 stories, 2 of them were like average to me. So the other 5 were just boring as shit. I read military books.
Mm-hmm.
This is not exciting. This is the Hitler and Daredevil action was not much. There was not a lot of Hitler and Daredevil battling in
Yeah,
this.
actually, that's true. That's true. There was only the one story where he really beat up Hitler a lot.
I did like the Silver Streak. I thought that was cool. It was okay. Um, the Yellow Claw was fun. That's why I'm gonna give it a 2. Just those 2 things by themselves. The Daredevil stuff, kind of boring. Like he was just like a soldier, and he actually fought the people with the children more than he did uh, Hitler to me, the way I read it. So, um, you got 14 average comics. 10 of them are less than average. Story wise, for me, I'm going 1-8. I wouldn't recommend this to anybody. I wouldn't say you should read this at all. And overall, I'll go 1-5. I mean, if you're going by volume, that's one thing. But when the volume isn't good to me, like it may be good to someone else, but I didn't enjoy it. So I didn't want to say anything while anybody was doing anything. But go ahead, Matt. You let her go, dude.
Before I get into my numbers, I just want to get into some points about the story that I liked and or disliked based on what I know of this comic book and what I know of real world events. One, they really nailed the Battle of Britain well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Britain was literally down to its last thing. They also got it right with the Italian Navy going towards Suez,
Mm-hmm.
and then the British taking them out. But the one that really surprised me, but keeping in mind that this is a 1941 comic book, was the Code Machine. Because nobody knew until it was declassified in 1977 about Enigma, which
That's
was
what
the
I was
Code
surprised
Machine,
by too. Actually, yeah.
which was the machine that actually broke the codes for the Allies. So that is a very neat thing. When I saw the cover and then Alan telling me there were 7 stories, and I noticed that there was a different person in every story, but Daredevil was pretty much, here I
He's the
am.
main character. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here I'm just here to say, here I am. In one case, it felt like that.
Mm.
Okay. What I thought was going to happen was they were all going to form a super team, because this wasn't long after the Justice Society had started, right?
Okay.
So I thought there was going to be a super team in it. I was a little disappointed that that didn't happen. The other point I want to make is that, yes, Goering was a fantastic pilot. He has 22, he was credited with 22 confirmed kills when he was a pilot in World War One. And he eventually became the commander of Red Baron himself. And another point I want to bring up, Alan, you say Monty Python. Well, the name of Goering's unit was the Flying Circus.
Oh yes, that's true. Very cool.
So I just brought that. This is like, as I said, real world things that sort of made my enjoyment of the book a little more. But I will point this out about Goering in 1940. He was 3 times the size he used to be. I'm not sure he would have fit comfortably in a cockpit. These are different machines. I don't know when he last flew. He was addicted to heroin by this point, and he had a leg injury. So, which would have made that was permanent. So, would have made things a little more difficult to fly. Having said that, that story was very interesting.
Mm.
So, basically, I enjoyed the stories. They're mostly accurate, and what at least what an American from the news he's getting at the time would think.
Mhm.
They made really good stories out of it. Okay, but there were obvious glaring obviously because we've got the hindsight of declassified documents and 80 years later that
Mhm.
they don't have. So here's what I'm going to. Okay, time for the score. Anyway, time for the scores. The cover, classic Golden Age. It's a 4 to me because I just look at it and go, wow, I want this book. The big Hitler, by the way, that was taken from a propaganda poster. I looked that up.
Oh, okay.
They took a photo of Hitler from a propaganda poster from Britain, and that's why he looks like he does. And they just basically did whatever it is they do. The
They made
photo,
him look very scared. It's kind of cool.
yes, because that came from a British propaganda poster where,
Mhm.
oh, let's get Hitler, because like it was about the Royal Navy and stuff. Okay, the characters again because they're all on the cover. I thought it would be a team
A
book
team
by
up.
the end.
Yeah.
The claw was the best part of the cover. I liked it better than the Hitler picture. The claw was one of my favorite things about the book. It's an insensitive caricature, but at the same time, they drew it really cool.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to see the book from its times and not from a modern
Yeah,
representation,
of
as I said.
course.
So the cover is a 4. The interior art is actually pretty good for a golden age, coming from a shop that churned out crap as fast as they could.
Mhm.
So I'm actually going to give the interior art a 3.5
Mhm.
because there are boring parts, there are not so great parts, but I actually find that there are more better panels and others. And I found in particular the story with the pirate was well done.
Mhm.
And I found the aerial depictions of the battles was done really well. The guy knew how to draw his planes
Mhm.
from the time period, so I like those very much. So as I said, I'm going to give it a 3.5. The writing, on the other hand, did drag on at times, and I realized that they were going with the propaganda and making the German guys buffoons. Hitler is kind of a buffoon.
Hitler is that they made Hitler definitely a buffoon. Yeah, I agree with that.
But I mean, if you know Hitler in real life, he's not a strategist. He's an idiot. He is an uneducated idiot from the movies.
Like I said, it was a guy that got his feelings hurt and just took it
Exactly.
out on the whole world.
He
Mhm.
didn't get into art school, and because the guy was a Jewish person who said no, literally.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've seen his art. He's terrible.
He's not that bad, but he's not that good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's terrible. He does these little watercolors, like, oh look, it looks like he took. In some cases, it looked like he took the paint and just went, "Fa-doom, fa-doom," That's modern art. That's not 1933 art.
Hmm.
Anyway, today they'll pay $5 million to see people do that. But I digress. The fact is, he's a redneck boonie, uneducated. Okay, didn't finish high school, whatever. He was bottom. He was a corporal. He wasn't an officer, whatever. It
Mhm.
must have galled the crap out of the generals to have to listen to him. Okay, but Goering, Goering unfortunately was addled by drugs, so him being looking like a buffoon makes sense too, because he was very. I'm dramatic and look at my outlandish outfits. I mean, like that was great.
Mhm.
That he's a buffoon too. It's Goebbels that does bother me because that man was smart as a tack.
Mhm.
He was on the wrong side of history, but he had brains and he knew what to do. So
Mhm.
he would not be that foolish little guy that let himself get wrapped up in the thing. So again, that's my issue, not everybody else's. It's a comic book. I know, Steven, it's a comic book. So, but the writing, I'm going to give a 3.75 anyways, mostly because of the accuracy. And I really liked the fact, I really liked the two stories in particular, the code one with the teenage boy, the pirate. But I also got a kick of seeing the elephant like TM did. I got a kick of seeing the elephant come in to save the Daredevil from execution. So
Yeah, the elephant is the real MVP of the book.
so I'm going to go with a overall. I'm going to go with some is bigger than its some of its parts. It's a big, culturally significant book. That does add a little bit to me, and I'm going to go 4.25 overall.
Okay. So you and I kind of balance out other two
Yeah,
guys.
I was a little bit like a little bit more lenient on things after you gave it such a high score. I was like, oh no, I don't want to hurt his feelings. But I did
No, it's
not like
okay.
this.
No, no,
I
no.
did not like this book at all. Like I was reading it while with people, and I was cursing your name while I was reading it. I was like, "Frig you, Alan, dude. This
It was
is
a long book. I give you that. It was a really long book. If you
like,
guys had just let me do my other book, it was actually the other
yeah,
book
oh yeah. See,
in
see,
all
I knew
5
it. I
parts. It
That's
was
freaking
so
knew
exactly
it.
what we thought.
But this one, there was a few things I thought were really funny. The scene where Hitler, they're doing this whole thing where they have to consult the like some mystic,
Yeah.
and
Well,
like, will we win the Battle of Britain? And it's like, no, you need the help of the Italians. And it's like, oh, you're a stupid orb, and he cracks it over, cracks it over the guy's head. It's just like
yes, but
that kind of
Hitler
stuff. You
was
just
into
don't.
the occult, so that again is actually
Yeah,
semi-accurate.
that was true. Yeah.
I'm a
There's so many
Burio
things like
fan.
that.
Is that a Burio cover and inside?
Yes. Yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
I'm a fan of that, and that shows you that like the story really had an impact on me enjoying the art. Like it drug it down for me because there was some good panel. Like I could name 4 or 5 really good panels in there, but the rest of them just seemed not that great because of the content to me. So I normally like
Uh,
Burio.
Personally, I enjoyed it,
50.85,
but
Matt.
50.85.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
but with 4 people.
Yes, I
Yes.
know.
Yeah. I don't think D would have helped much. I think he probably would have
Yeah, G
hammered
would have destroyed this, I think.
it. Yeah. I really graded it heavy because
You want to balance
I
me out?
I wanted to. No, I these are probably my real scores. I didn't give it less because I thought y'all gave it more. I just really graded it that way. I was just being honest this time.
It came out
Yeah.
to Daredevil v Hitler or meets Hitler or whatever. It comes out to 63.6%. Bottom half.
Bottom half. Yeah.
What up, circumstances? Darth, big
But
dog got to eat.
to me, I thought this was like I like the history. I like the fact that they, there's this weird thing that I thought they did well is how do you take like accurate historical events and then weave in a fantastical story? Like something
I don't
where
know, man. Like it felt like it just was like, hey, we're gonna do this, and then over here we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this right quick and get right to the chase and that.
Yeah,
And
I'm not
continue
with.
that. Like I was just like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe it was due to me being like I was really not into the book, like especially after the second story and that. So it just kind of dragged me down a little bit.
well, so
That,
so one thing you have to understand about Golden Age comics, they this had 7 stories and it was 68 pages. So that roughly works out to 8 to 9 pages per story.
Exactly, and that's what I was saying. It
They
felt
they
like that,
they have to do a lot
especially with
in
Silver Streak.
a few pages.
yeah, I don't feel the historical value in the African part, and I don't feel the historical value in the yellow claw part. That was very like
Yeah, you're probably
not
right on
not.
both of them.
I mean, come on, like those
Yellow
two.
Claw
There's nothing
is
you could take
definitely
from that to make sense. Like it's okay, but it's not like, oh, this is what happened. Hell no, that ain't got
No, no,
shit to
no,
do with
no. Though you're right. Yeah.
Yellow Claw.
And
And
like
the
I said,
pirate
like
ship one
I
too.
read heavy dialogue books before. Like King writes heavy dialogue in his books and that, and And then there's times where I'm like really into a book. Like when I first read Mr. Miracle by Tom King, I read the entire volume in one sitting because I absolutely loved it and was like, okay, I need to read the next part. I was excited for it. In this book, I was just like, I'm excited for this book to end. Like,
It can happen.
The last part was my favorite. I admit that, and just the biography. Like that's pretty bad when a biography is the best part of a comic. Like I don't know what y'all are on, but that's cool. You guys
So
do
for
like what
me-
you like.
So for me, the way I treat a lot of Golden Age books as because they are anthologies, and you'll get like even in the middle of this, there's like some comedy. Like there was actually 8 stories if you count that one kind of like short panel-y one with
Yeah,
like
there were a
reading.
couple of those. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's typical with the anthologies where it's this character, this character, this character, and generally when you're reading them, you pick which characters you like the stories of. You know, you read. You don't necessarily read it all because some
Yeah.
characters are not as cool as others. Especially if you ever read more fun comics, they'll have like they'll have the Spectre, and then they'll have like some goofy character that you're just like, what is this character doing?
Johnny Quick was in More Fun as well for a while.
Yeah. So there's some really cool characters, and then there's some goofy, kind of silly characters that their stories are not superhero stories; they're just goofy stories. So with these anthologies, you get a bit of that where it might not work for everybody, but
I mean, if you want to learn about Hitler, then this is a great comic. I mean, it is fun and it's a lot of Hitler. What do you got for us next week,
it's a lot
Tim?
of Hitler.
I got a book that everybody loves. Everybody loves it.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna guess.
Identity
It's
Crisis
part 2.
Part 2. If I can
Wow.
work how my phone goes. Like, I don't know how to work a phone, guys.
No,
Sorry.
you're good. Dude, a lot of people like this story. People get excited about it. So, hey, man, I'm gonna learn something new, just like today. I thank you, Alan, for doing that. I haven't researched Hitler a lot. I feel like they're. I mean, this was before World War II, so it's
Well,
hard
before
to.
American World War II.
It was World War
World
II.
War
As a country that declared war on 10th September 1939, it was World War II for us.
Okay, well, at the same
Yeah.
time, America wasn't involved yet, so I got to be
No.
like a little bit
It's
like.
like the First World War was only a year long, Matt.
Good. I've heard that.
There's more to Hitler than this comic, basically, and I don't know that if they knew that shit at that point, So I think I would like a modern version of a Hitler comic more than that era, probably. I don't know. I've read Hitler before in comics. Like he could be fun. There could be stuff that he ain't like a great character, like a good character. He's a bad guy, but this one didn't really. He just didn't really spark it for me. The Yellow Claw was fun though, but yeah, dude. So we got Identity Crisis 2. All right, so this is an idea for the next collector club. What I would propose to y'all, because your decision's just as good as anybody else's, and if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. What we're going to do is we're going to shorten the time up to find your book.
That's a good idea.
We're going to cut it to a minute instead of 5.
Yeah, it's too much.
We're going to do the wheel. We're going to have a category. You get 1 minute to find a book, and that's what we'll play. And we're going to see how it goes.
It's on Friday. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought we were talking about book club. Like, I was like, wait, what's going on?
No.
He's talking collector club.
Yeah, I was just like, I was so confused.
Collector club. What are we? So like 1 minute to find a book on what?
We'll have a wheel spin. We could discuss if you guys got some categories you want to throw in there. I'm down to. We could all sort them out.
Bunch of categories on there already.
Yeah, we got ideas of categories, but we'll make it fun for Friday. If you guys got some good ideas, we'll run it across to everybody.
So we can do robot
pulled
covers.
A couple books.
Chicken what?
I've already pulled a couple. I already pulled a couple of key.
Spec books.
Spec keys.
Undervalued book might be a category. Undervalued book
I'm
would
gonna
be a
win
category.
this at some point.
That'd be fun. Yeah, I mean, you guys are
I think you should have won the last two, Matt. So
you did, dude, Matt. Dude. I love your Lobo Supergirl spec. Ain't nobody bringing it better than you, man. That's great.
By the way, that book hit $10.
Oh yeah,
Oh man, it's too much now for me. I can't do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it's
Matt's
over. It's
Matt's.
overpriced.
it's a book that I found in the dollar bin.
I can't even figure out what I gotta rewatch my show to get the right books because when I looked it up, I'm like, I don't think that's what Matt showed. So I'm gonna go back and check him out.
Hmm.
But yeah, thank you guys very much. We had a great show. We had a good turnout. There was quite good amount of people in the chat this time. So thank you guys. Appreciate y'all. Maybe
Yeah, I started a TikTok today, and that video that I shared on Instagram, I shared on TikTok too. I broke the
That's
seal.
good. I like that.
Oh
That
no,
was a nice
not
little promo.
TikTok.
well, I thank TM for his good publicity, and I pick Alan for his choice and content. So I think it's a mixture of both. So thank you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all. All right, we'll see y'all in a few days. Don't forget to check out Matt and Alan on their channels, and TM's going to be doing more content. You want to talk
Yeah.
about your new stuff you're doing, TM?
Yeah, I'm bringing back chatting with the comic community. Where Biggie's going to be a guest on it too. I've already had guests lined up to go up to episode 100. It was like the first ongoing show that I ever did.
Right.
I'm bringing it back because Bobby Delgado, shout out Bobby, he was my very first guest, and that. And who knows, you might see Matt and Comic Collector Geek on that show too, because I have a couple of people that backed out. So this is me asking them if they wanted to come on the show, and it's at any
In the
time,
future, sure.
and it's only an hour long, and it's pre-recorded and then dropped later on.
Hmm.
But and I'll also be doing a review show every Monday. I'll be dropping a review on a certain issue of a comic book. I'll be working my way through Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees,
Oh,
going
Nice.
through every issue of that, and then doing my overall review on the entire series. And then I'll probably continue doing that with like maybe Bug Wars, Onward On. So, and then I have a few packages coming in from Son of Crom and a mystery box from Cali Comics.
nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Don't
I'll-
forget, you don't forget, you're my guest on July 2nd.
And I'm Matt's guest on July 2nd. I did promote that too on the live I did. Well, the not live I did yesterday.
I'll be
Go
on.
check it
I'll be on MJ Comics on the 28th Saturday. That'll be fun. He's going to interview me,
Yeah.
and Alan does a lot of good content too. You want to say anything, Alan?
Just standard fare.
All right. He does a great Friday night show, Monday
Same
special.
stuff. Yeah.
He gets big books.
Oh,
If you ain't,
actually, Monday's
Yeah.
gonna be awesome. Actually, I'm not gonna be here. It's gonna be the Steven Gentner show. He's gonna show he's gonna show his Batman collection. The
ooh,
Bat One.
Yeah. Oh
No, all
God.
The whole thing.
Monday night
because he
also.
picked up another big Batman book, so
Show it
kinda makes
off.
sense. Yeah.
oh yeah, and I don't even want to bring up that there might be a competition with me and Steppo right now, but don't. You didn't hear
that's
that here.
true. That's true. Yeah, that's on Son of Crom, right? That you
Yeah, I
guys
just want one of us to win. So good luck, Steppo. Appreciate you, bro.
And on Monday at 8 p.m., I am having Kate join me because of unforeseen circumstances at my place yesterday. I had to change the time of my show last night, and Kate couldn't make it that late. So I'm having a special Monday edition at 8 p.m. of my show, of my Tuesday night show.
Kate, as in Katie.
Kate's Comics.
Kate's Comics. She's an Instagram girl.
CAIT. She's an Instagrammer. She's been on Nate's channel a couple of times already.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's been book club, guys. See y'all in a week. #enjoy. Appreciate y'all.